I'd like to call to order the Milan Area Schools Board of Education special meeting for Wednesday, February 26, 2025. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you to everyone for attending this evening, as well as those who will be watching the recording. All board members are present except for Ms. Pryor is excused and Ms. Heike is excused. We'll start with communications and community engagement. A reminder that this is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school's district business. It is not to be considered a public meeting. There's one time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. When addressing the board, you'll be asked to state your name. The board determines the amount of time granted to individuals or groups to speak. Each person shall be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes. Board members may question speakers but are not obligated to answer questions or make statements or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such items will be referred to the superintendent for advisement, investigation, study, and/or recommendation, or designated as future agenda items for board consideration. Are there any students who'd like to address the board? Are there any public members who'd like to address the board? And I'll just ask you to state your name.
Hello. Is
Hold
this
I'm
on
sorry.
now?
Let me get this. I got to get this going here. Sorry about that.
Oh, sure.
All right. Here we go. Yep. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Eric John Roberts, and I'm a candidate for Washtenaw ISD Board of Education. As a reminder for folks that have gone through this process before, ISDs are elected by the local school boards in May, and then on the first Monday in June, the local school board representatives from each board will get together at the ISD to cast the ballots. A little bit about myself. I've brought some information here that I'll share with you. There's 8 copies, so please feel free to pass these along to your 2 colleagues when you see them next. I have been 6 years a school board member. I was a school board member on the west side of the state before I moved over here for law school. I served Kennewick Hills Public Schools with about 3,000 students. And in that time, I committed more than 2,000 hours of training in how to be an effective school board member. I've put that training to use to try and meet with and help steer other board members in the right direction. Most recently in January, when I presented to 30 or so new and returning school board members virtually on the Open Meetings Act and Robert's Rules of Order to try to give them the best start to the new year to best serve students. I've been a substitute teacher for on and off for about 4 years. I started that as soon as you could in undergrad with 60 credits, and I've continued that through school as my schedule allows. And I did that because I am going into law today. I'm a law student at the University of Toledo, and I decided to substitute teach, one, because I was a school board member and wanted to better understand the support needs that the teachers need in our classrooms, and also what are the individual support needs for students. I think that going into disability and education law, I'd love to play a role in helping districts and parents and students with like IEP planning under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, and talk about how to best provide a free and appropriate public education for each student and for that particular student in that situation. I've presented at 2 MASB school board meetings, most recently on the importance of sex ed advisory boards and how to build those and empower them to make holistic approaches to a K-12 curriculum. So that's a little bit about myself, and I've got info here, and I'll point out on the front there's a Calendly link that's got all my availability. I'd love to meet with more of you or answer any emails or texts if you have questions about my background, my thoughts for the ISD. Thanks.
Great, thank you. You can go ahead and leave that right on that table, and then we'll make sure to get it to our other members as well.
And this turns off
Yep,
now?
it does. Thank you so much. Are there any other public comments? All right, next up, I need a routine matters for approval. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 12th, 2025.
Moved by Burdette.
Support by Gutierrez.
So moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 12th, 2025. Are there any comments or concerns? Hearing none, it's been moved and supported to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of February 12th, 2025. Ms. Murray?
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Barrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes, and motion carries 5-0.
All right, next up, I need a motion to appoint Attorney Rob Dietzel of the Troon Law Firm PC to serve as the board's hearing officer for the student discipline hearing. I can't talk this evening. I'm sorry.
Moved by Murray.
Support by.
I have moved by Murray and supported by Farrow. So it's been moved and supported to appoint Attorney Rob Dietzel of the Troon Law Firm PC to serve as the board's hearing officer for the student discipline hearing. Any comments or concerns? All right. It's been moved and supported to appoint Attorney Rob Dietzel of the Troon Law Firm PC to serve as the board hearing officer for the student discipline hearing. Ms. Murray?
Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette,
Yes.
Barrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes, and motion carries 5-0.
All right. Next, I need a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Section 81B of the Michigan Open Meetings Act and upon the request of the student's parent guardian for the purpose of conducting a hearing to consider the discipline of a student whose identity is known to the board as student 2024-2025-3.
Moved by Farrow.
Support by Gutierrez.
It's been moved and supported to enter into closed session pursuant to Section 81B of the Michigan Open Meetings Act and upon request of the student's parent guardian for the purpose of conducting a hearing to consider the discipline of a student whose identity is known to the board as student 2024-2025-3. Are there any questions or concerns? All right. Ms. Murray?
Burdette,
Yes.
Barrow,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes, Sislo,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
All right, we are going into closed session at 5:08 p.m. All right, we have returned to open session at 6:14 p.m.
All right. Should I turn this on, President Sislo?
Yes.
All right, President Sislo, I have a resolution that I'd like to read for board consideration.
Please go ahead, Mr. Dietz.
All right, before I read the resolution, the board did consider all of the evidence presented at tonight's discipline hearing, deliberated on that evidence, has not made any decision yet, but through that discussion, I believe that there's a consensus. I'd like to reflect that consensus in this resolution. Once I read the resolution, though, board members, it requires that one of you make a motion and another support it if you'd like the board to consider adopting the resolution as read. So that resolution states that whereas the administration has recommended that a student whose identity is known to the board as student 24-25-3 be expelled for improper use of technology, improper use of a recording device, and criminal conduct. School administrators notified the student's parents, guardians of the specific charge underlying the recommendation, as well as the date, time, and place of the hearing. Pursuant to the request of the student's parents or guardian, and as authorized by Michigan Open Meetings Act Section 81B, the hearing was conducted in a closed session meeting of the board. The hearing afforded the student and the student's representatives an opportunity to respond to the charge and to present pertinent evidence for the board's consideration. The board has carefully considered all the evidence produced in the student discipline hearing, and therefore be it resolved that a preponderance of the evidence establishes that on January 31, 2025, during a non-school activity and outside of school hours, the student entered an area of the school where others have an expectation of privacy with a recording device with the intent to record in violation of board policy and state law. The student does not admit the conduct but does not contest the allegation. Based on careful consideration of all the following factors, the board determines that expulsion is warranted. Those factors include the student's age, discipline history, whether the student has a disability, the seriousness of the behavior, whether the behavior posed a safety risk, whether restorative practices are a better option, and whether lesser interventions would address the behavior. The student is permanently expelled from the district. The student is also permanently prohibited from being on school grounds or from attending any functions at the district without prior written approval from the superintendent or superintendent's designee. The student may participate in the WAVE program as a virtual student only, and only if accepted for enrollment by WAVE. The student may not participate in any in-person educational program affiliated with the district. Consistent with the revised school code, the board finds that the interests of the district are served by this resolution. Administrators are directed and authorized to implement all terms of this resolution and are delegated the authority to do so. All resolutions and parts of resolutions that conflict with this resolution are hereby rescinded. So that's the resolution for board consideration.
So I need a motion to expel student 2024-2025-3 in accordance with the attached resolution as read by Rob Dietzel.
Moved by Pharaoh.
Support by Gutierrez.
It's been moved and supported to expel student 2024-2025-3 in accordance with the attached resolution as read by Rob Dietzel. Are there any questions or concerns? Ms. Murray?
Pharaoh,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Murray, yes. Sislo,
Yes.
Burdette.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, we are adjourned at 6:18 p.m.
Thank you.